Hello, and welcome back to Ask Dr. B. This is the fourth in a four-part series on domestic violence, primarily focusing on intimate partner violence. First three videos in this series cover different aspects of the issue of domestic violence. And if you didn't see any of those, please check back on in this series to see what you might learn from those other three. This video is going to focus on how to escape a situation that you may be in, or how to learn about helping someone escape a situation that they may be in if they're ready to leave. So if I'm going to talk primarily to people watching this video who may in fact be in abusive situations. First of all, if you are, know that you do not deserve to be abused, period. No qualifications, no additional information required on that important point. You do not deserve to be abused, and it isn't your fault that it's happening. If you are in an emergency situation, please call 911 here in the US, or your emergency number if you are in other parts of the world. Some other really important things to remind yourself, to tell yourself as you're contemplating escaping this violence, this abuse. You're not to blame, as I said, for being battered or abused in any way. You're not the cause of the abuse. Doesn't matter what anyone else is telling you. You deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. If you have children, they deserve to be treated with respect. You deserve a happy and safe life. So do your kids. You're not alone. There are many people in your community and in the world who have been in a situation like you find yourself in, and there are people who want to provide help and hope. So it's a difficult situation to be in for so many reasons, especially if there are children involved, especially if you're married to the person who's abusing you. So before I talk about some of the things, some of the actions you can take, some of the steps you can take, I want to talk about some of the things that keep us in that relationship, things that we say to ourselves or things that we wish or that we hope. And no one should judge you. You're the only one that can know the factors that are affecting you. But we all have trouble letting go of a hope, a wish, a dream. We all have trouble accepting the limitations in people that if we don't love them now, once upon a time we did. And so we tell ourselves things to justify, and they keep us in situations that can be dangerous. So one thing that a lot of people feel, and you may be feeling this way, you may, be hoping that the person who has abused you in the past will change. And that's completely understandable. But someone who has been violent to another person, somebody who has been abusive, someone who has a history, has shown different ways, and some of these specifics that you can tell that a relationship is abusive, I cover in the prior videos, so watch those. But someone like that is really unlikely to change unless, it's not impossible, but unless they are owning completely the responsibility for what they're doing, they recognize that they have a problem that they need to address. So hoping that they will change, hoping that you can do enough for them, hoping that you can love them enough or care for them enough or whatever, that's not going to create the change. Okay. It's only natural that you believe that you have, because you have this special relationship with this person, they love you. And maybe at times after they've mistreated you, they tell you how much they love you and that you are so important to them and that they can't live without you. And so you may believe, that you have the power, you have the ability, you have the relationship, you have the knowledge, but that's not true on several levels. First of all, if somebody admits that they have a problem, there are many people that could help them become less abusive, understand where that abuse is coming from in themselves, develop strategies, etc. You are not the only one that could help them. And in fact, because you're someone that they are abusing, you may not even be the best person to help them. So even though it's understandable, you may believe that because you have that relationship that you can help them, you need to stay there to help them. And so you don't want to give that up. But again, that's not the case. They can get help in lots of places. Then you can always reconcile. You can always revisit a relationship once long down the road, once they are in treatment, getting help, no longer feeling like they're a danger to anyone else. Speaking of counseling, you may feel like, well, they're in counseling, so I need to stay. I need to stay and support them. Also not true. A lot of people who are in counseling, in treatment, continue to abuse. That doesn't mean they won't change at some point, but you staying with them can actually enable them to continue to abuse. And again, if they do the work they need to do, if they get out of that pattern of abuse, you can then work with them to rebuild, to reconcile. But staying with them is in no way a guarantee, and often it can actually exacerbate, and you may be enabling, even though that's the last thing you're trying to do. You may be worried about what will happen to them if you leave. They may tell you, I can't live without you. I'm desperate. I'm really sorry. I'll make it up to you. I'll fix this. I won't do it again. And the things that probably you're very familiar with hearing. That's understandable also that you're afraid, or you may not know what's going to happen to you or your kids. All understandable, but don't let fear of the future, either their future or your own, keep you from getting out of a situation that is right now. You know what that situation is. You know how deadly and dangerous the situation can be. So understandable that you're worried about. And remember that all of these things are ways that we give ourselves permission to stay in a situation that at some level we know is dangerous, unhealthy, and that we should leave. So let's say that you are going through this process and thinking about these things, and you really feel that, you do believe you want to leave, although maybe there are complications. Maybe you have children. Maybe you have been controlled by this other person for so long, you don't have your own financial security. So it's difficult. So it may be good to start first by reaching out to an organization that provides care and support. Get some advice, get some guidance. So here in the U.S., the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-7233. Call from a friend's house or somewhere else where you feel safe, and they will give you advice. They will help you form a plan. This isn't something that you need to do alone. There are many, many people and organizations who want to help, who have been there before, or who care about you and want to support you. So don't feel like you need to do this alone. It doesn't prove anything. You don't need to do that. We all need support, and there are times in our lives when we need a lot. And it's good for the people that care about you to allow them to help you. Make sure that you have a plan. Start thinking about your plan. Identify domestic violence shelters in your community, because they can help with a lot of this. And even before you leave, they can help you with giving you information about legal advice, legal help, often for free, pro bono assistance, counseling, support groups, services for your kids, employment programs if your abuser has not allowed you to work. So having these conversations to create a plan for when it's time for you to actually leave, really fine to do, really smart to do. If you can't do it yourself because you don't have the freedom of movement, you're being controlled, but you do have occasional access to friends that you trust, ask them to get this information for you and to help you build the plan. These shelters also have information about health-related services and financial assistance. Speaking of financial, so identify the shelters. You can talk to them whenever, even before you leave, even when you're not sure you're really ready to leave. They can help you with that information, or get someone a friend that you trust to get that information for you. So it's also important to understand your financial standing, especially if you're married to this person. Are the accounts all in that person's name? Does that person control the credit cards? Do you have a bank account or access to an account? Doesn't mean you can't leave. Again, these shelters and other organizations will help you with that, but it's important to know. Get your documents together, your passport, credit cards, banking information. Even if it's his banking information or her banking information, if you're married, get that information if you can. Stay safe, be careful. Change your passwords so that person can't get into your accounts once you leave. Hide a set of car keys. If you have a car, if you have access to a car, hide a set of car keys. And this is as you're getting ready to leave. Pack a bag that has some basic things that you'll need for yourself, for your kids, if you have children that will be leaving with you. Important papers, money, clothes, just enough so that you can get out. And you might keep those at a friend's house so that when it's time to go, you can go there and pick them up, or go to the shelter. Have a plan for calling the police if you need to. If not, you should have a plan anyway. But if it turns out that you need, so that your children, especially older children, know what to do. Sometimes people use a code word where they feel like things are starting to escalate and getting really dangerous, and they have a code word, or they'll text a friend the code word, and the code word tells the friend, call the police, I'm in danger. Or the kids know, call the police, I'm in danger. I know this sounds scary to think about it, but those individuals who have lived in these situations know that this is reality. You have to have a plan. You have to be ready. You have to think about where not to be in your house. You don't want to allow yourself, as you're getting ready to leave, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where the abuser can trap you in an enclosed space. These are important things to think about. When to go, how to go, what you need to take with you. Know where you'll go and how you'll get there. If you have a car, great. Have that car gassed up, ready to go, or have someone come by and pick you up so that it's a plan. We all do better when we have plans. Be ready to leave at a moment's notice. Have your plan in place, your documents gathered, money if you have it, your friends alerted, advocates contacted, and now you're ready. And you may have a plan of the timing of when you're going to go, but be ready in the event that the abuser starts to suspect or becomes worried that you might be planning to leave. Be ready to go at a moment's notice so that then you can get out. You can always regroup. And it's like, when you're going on an airplane and they do the safety precautions and they tell you, if we're going to have a water landing or whatever, leave everything behind. Don't try to take your carry-ons with you. Get out. Same thing applies here. Get your kids, have your bag somewhere else. And if you didn't have time to get that bag ready, get out regardless. You can always replace those things. So just get out. If you're, again, feeling in danger for yourself, obviously call the police. Okay, practice escaping quickly and safely. It's useful to go through the steps in your mind and then tell your friends, I'm gonna do this practice where just you stop by and tell me so that we coordinate our signals and our messages. Just get ready. And finally, make a list and memorize the list of emergency contacts that you may need once you get away. Again, family, advocates, shelters, so that if you have to leave quickly and you can't even grab your phone or your bag, you have those numbers in your head that you can contact. If you I'm hesitating because I just want to let all of this sit for a minute. This is sort of the plan to get out. And some people may be ready to hear that and may be ready to go. And maybe this will be helpful to them to organize themselves, to get out of that relationship, get out of that situation, save themselves, save their children. But other people, this may be sort of the first time they're really thinking about it. And maybe they don't feel ready to go yet. Maybe they heard what I said about being hopeful, about getting, they're in counseling, or they've promised never to do it again, or they've threatened to kill themselves if you leave, which would be horrible. But again, it's not your responsibility. You can call the police if you're worried that they're going to harm themselves. But maybe all this stuff is swirling and you're not ready to go. Or maybe you've tried and you left, and then you come back. So I also want to talk to those people who have tried and maybe they feel like they failed, but please don't feel like it's a failure. It often takes multiple tries before we extricate ourselves from a violent or unhealthy relationship. Remember what I said at the beginning of this, don't judge yourself. No one can judge you. Only you know the situation you're in. So even if you're not ready to leave, you still have a shred of hope, or maybe the abuse hasn't happened for a while. And so you're thinking maybe this time it's different, or they stopped drinking. And so maybe this time it will be different. So maybe you're still hopeful. Maybe you're not quite ready, or maybe you've tried and have come back and feel bad about yourself. Please try to be gentle with yourself. Try to be understanding. This is the intensity that you feel, all these conflicted feelings. It's very human. It's very understandable. They're all kinds of things that you can sort out and should sort out for yourself. But don't judge yourself. It's hard. This is really hard, especially if you have children, especially if you're married, especially if you don't have resources, especially if you don't have a good social support network. Very hard. But people do leave. People do get out. People do rebuild their lives. People do save their children from repeating the same patterns. So you can always contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline, even if you're not planning to leave today, to get recommendations for support in your community. Could be an online support group, could be counseling. And again, you'll have to navigate how to do that in a way that's safe for you. But those resources are available to you, even if you're not ready to leave, or even if you've tried to leave and weren't able to. Build as strong a support system as you can. Remember, you don't have to do this alone. You can reach out to trusted friends, families, your faith community, your neighbors who you trust, all of these available potential resources, think about in your own community, in your own life. And as I said, please be kind to yourself and know that even if you weren't able to, even if you tried and you came back, you may leave tomorrow, you may leave the next day, and this time you may stay. So, and anything you can do to rebuild the self-esteem that's been beaten down, literally or figuratively, will help you have the strength and the confidence to make that step again. And this time, maybe you're able to then take another step and rebuild your life. So there are resources at the end of this, in the details of this video, that I hope will help. This is a really important series. So if you know anyone who you are concerned about, please share these videos with them. We never know the ripple effect we may have when we reach out to someone else who we're concerned about. Thank you for watching. Thank you to the individual who sent in the question about how do I tell if someone I care about might be in a violent relationship, and what do I do? And please continue to send in your questions. Thank you for caring about your own emotional health and well-being and the well-being of those you love. Take care.